Hi, ye YouTubers, and welcome to part 4 of Silent Hill 2 with the Therapist, brought to you by the lovely folks at Konami. Again, thank you very much for sending me a code. I know the last episode was pretty intense, and I am looking forward to seeing what happens in this one. I will remind you all that please take care of yourselves if you need to throughout these playthroughs. I know that sometimes the conversations we have can get pretty intense. Something I want to address really briefly here at the start of part 4 is a reminder, I suppose, for anybody who may be here for the first time. Like if this is your first playthrough of mine, and you haven't been to one of them before, you may not know the full context for why I stream, and I want to make sure I'm clear about it so that people have an understanding about this going forward, and it'll maybe quell some issues that have been coming up in comments on the videos, which I appreciate all of your engagement and your thumbs up and stuff like that. I'm really glad you're here. But I want to make sure I remind everybody that first and foremost, the point of my playthroughs is to take what happens in these games and relate them as best I can to real-world psychological concepts. The point of these playthroughs is not for me to get it perfectly right. It's not for me to get to the closest approximation of what the developers were intending. That would be impossible for me to do. I'm going in on this blind. I don't have the benefit of hindsight to like look through and pore through all the details on this. My orientation to these games is, as things come up, I want to use it as a way to help people maybe understand themselves a bit better in their real world scenarios, not the abstract scenario that James finds himself in. So just please keep that in mind. I don't really want to see comments about what developer intention was and how close my approximation was to it. Like, that's not really helpful, and it can be spoilery for people. I'm not really looking to be checked on that. The other thing that I will say is, please don't post spoilers in chat. Even just saying this is a spoiler but is not good enough. Your comment will be removed. It's not helpful. It's something that if people are reading the comments or whatever, I don't want them to come across something that they haven't experienced yet if this is their first time experiencing the game. Believe it or not, I mean, this is my first time experiencing the game. I know it is for many people. So please keep your comments that may include spoilers to a 0, not even a minimum, to a 0. I don't appreciate them, and I will remove them. Now, that said, again, the overwhelming majority of you have been awesome with your engagement around these videos, so thank you so much for giving my playthrough the time of day, going through this with me, engaging with the analysis that I bring. I don't claim to be right on all this stuff. This is just my hypothesizing. So thanks so much for taking time out of your day or night to watch these. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you stick around for all of the episodes as we go through them. So, without further ado, let's walk into room 306. No idea what's going to be in here. It's a basic one. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I hit L1 like this is Elden Ring or something. Like I have a shield or something. Do you find yourself trying to do Ghost of Tsushima moves sometimes? Yeah. For those who don't know, we're playing this game alongside Ghost of Tsushima, and the control schemes are very different, so it does throw me off sometimes, yes. Like, I tried to parry that thing, and it didn't really work. If James was holding the katana right now, I would have had him. Alright. I'm interested in the pictures that are in the environments. Although there doesn't seem to be an outrageous amount of detail on it. Alright, buddy, where are you going? If you're gonna go there, you need you to lay down, bud. You need you to lay down. Or sit on my lap. Or you can go right there in the corner. That works. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay. Little double bathroom action. Boy, I would hate to live in an apartment where I shared a wall with somebody else's bathroom. Also, this tub doesn't look like a good time. Interesting. There's a mirror in the tub filled with blood with... Huh. Interesting. The mirror is the more interesting part of this than anything else. Broken glass hanging from the ceiling? There's a real jaggedness about this apartment complex. These hanging mirrors, they're like shattered mirrors, sharp angles. It's like, for me, it's almost like this space, this apartment complex that we're walking through, is a visual manifestation of pain, or at least the like presence of pain. Think about that, I guess, in some ways, of like the pyramid guy too. He's got like a very pointy helmet, sharp edges. You look at stuff like that, you'll get jagged, not necessarily consistent edges on these types of things, and you get hurt on it. There's just a pointy to it. So this whole space kind of feels that way. And it makes me wonder to an extent how much of this space that we're in right now is more of a representation of pain that James is having relative to that other space that we were in before we crossed over into this one. Not all the mirrors are broken, though. That is true. You can't see James's reflection, though. It's interesting that these, like, lay dead and then... Yeah, I can't see James's reflection. Okay, legs. So many mirrors in here. Oh, I can break the mirrors, though. That's it. That's interesting. happens if I break all of them? Just for shits and giggles. The gamer in me is... Nothing. That's okay. Turn the handle on this. Man, the ceiling flaking like that. Oh, it's excellent. All right, go ahead and put that in your pocket, James. Yeah, good. Glad you wore that baggy jacket that could hold that. So this must be the door that's in that hallway. Oh, maybe? Yeah, okay. Oh, shit. If I went all the way down this hallway. Broke the radio. Maybe. Yep. Figured we would take that. Cool. The hour hand. Oh. And that door opened. I'm really interested in... Yes. Why do you think James is being so relatively casual about this, so we can react ourselves and not base it off his, or is it intentional and part of his character? It's hard to say. I struggle with that with video game protagonists, because I think there is a really delicate balance that you have to run. I think particularly in horror games like this, you don't want the protagonist to grab the hand of the player and show them exactly how to feel, but you also do want that character to be dynamic. If I had to guess, there's probably a familiarity to this with James. Probably maybe some resiliency, maybe an awareness that this... I don't know, he seems to think that this is a real place instead of a manifestation of his mind. It's hard to say. He does not seem to get particularly fazed by this stuff, though. And I don't know that I would go so far as to, like, pathologize that or anything, so much as just kind of take it for what it is. He certainly seemed to be distressed by the pyramid guy. But I don't know if that's because of what the pyramid guy is or because of what it represents for him. Now, I don't know the degree of self-awareness that James has about whether this is a manifestation of his own mind. And yeah, if he's resigned himself to the danger of this space and is like, yeah, I don't care if I die, whatever, which he did say in the graveyard, then, you know. You want to get in on this, Jack? You guys better not fight. If you guys are douches to each other, you're going to have to leave. If you're nice to each other, then that's okay. But I do need you to lay down in front. Please. Alright, so the hour hand needs to point to 9. Oh, that's a terrible noise. That's a really terrible noise. I wonder if it opened that H door, since it was the hour hand. Jack, come on, buddy. Yep. Let's see, what do you think, Jack? Should we go through that door? Guys, come on. I love my cats, but having them in here during horror time is not my favorite. I may kick them out here in a minute. Ooh, lights are on in here. There we go. Thank you for laying down. All right. Sorry, I was waiting for him to lay down. Not a fan of the backsplash. Table for 2. So we got to get like 2 birds. No key. Okay, so there's... All right, we got a bird vibe here. And people tend to associate birds with freedom. This place very much feels like a prison. Lights on, birds. A door that won't open. Oh, reach in there, James. Get after it, buddy. Boy, this guy, he'll do anything. Would you look at that? Interesting. Yeah, dude, that hand. Oh, God. Hey. Oh shit, I forgot about... God damn it. Well, I needed the acid to wash off the nastiness from that toilet grab, so... Why did this change? That's so... I mean, now it's obvious that this is some sort of manifestation of his mind. I mean, this... Duh. But the fact that this room changed, I wonder why his perception of it was so clean and nice. Only thing I can think of is if they returned... Well, but these are apartments. These aren't... it's not like these are Airbnbs. I would be like if this was a room that he stayed in. Like if this was somewhere that they hung out, or if this was like a friend's room. I mean, I guess if you came here regularly enough, if you rented a place, and maybe you had friends that lived in this apartment and you were in here regularly and you remember it somewhat fondly, and you walk through it and you see the light and the layout the way that you remember it, and then you go in there and you dig that out, and then you're reminded where you are, and you come back and see it all dilapidated and gross. I don't know. Really interesting stuff, though. That this whole deal swapped.
Love the little details like cigarettes in an ashtray and stuff. Kind of a half-baked thought. I don't know if I'm ready to share it yet. For maybe a little bit more data to support it. Some of it may just be environment building. All right, Legs, I know you're in here. Oh, okay. Oh, we got part of a bird. I can only imagine what bad, nasty things are going to happen when I pull that off the wall. Swan head. Wooden swan head. All right, 209, what do you got for me? Door number 1 or door number 2? Which one will it be? No, door number 1 doesn't open. Show me showcase number 2. Single pillow. One side of the bed rotted out. The detail in this, I mean, I know I keep saying it, but it really is incredible. Ooh, look at that. You see that little silhouette there? You see that little silhouette in there? I see it. I see you, Legs. Or creepy mannequin. Oh, man. Bottom half of the goose. Yeah, see, I don't know that I like the radio cueing me in that things are here. I'd rather hear it. Damn it. Creepy picture painting. Maybe there's a setting to turn off the radio. I think there is. If I continue to find it obtrusive, I'll probably turn it off at some point. Alright, so... Okay. Pigeon versus swan. I mean, that's kind of interesting given that... Ooh. So before we put this in there, that's some interesting symbolism. Pigeons are generally treated as pests, as nuisances. Whereas swans are often revered as beautiful and graceful, even though they can be pretty mean. And there's a real dichotomy here with this like notch weighted thing here. And the pigeon is on a side. Oh, this is so good. The pigeon is on a side of this baton where the other notches are covered with rot. So a nuisance bird, rotted out notches. So you can't put it in a space to balance it effectively. It has to be in that notch. A swan that has a head that is clean and beautiful, but a body and backside that is rotted out and gross. Meaning it's beautiful on the outside, or presents as beautiful, but has some stuff going on the back end, no pun intended, but has the ability to move to whatever notch it needs to in order to balance this out, I would guess is a representation of James and Mary. Mary being the pigeon, James being the swan. Where James is the one that is perceived by others to be fine and healthy and beautiful, and his wife is perceived to be rotted out because she is coming up against her demise. And that James has essentially internalized her as being immovable. She's a nuisance, and she can't come toward me because she is preoccupied with what she's going through. And James having to move up and down in order to accommodate her, and while he keeps up a face for her, he saves face for her, he's rotting on the inside. The backside that she can't see very well is rotting, and maybe that's some of the desires he has, some of the resentment that he's holding, all of that stuff. So and that in order to find balance, it has to be James. That's my theory anyway. Save face, rotted out from the back. But James can't get any attention because if he does, then there's too much. So we got to move him close. He constantly has to move closer to her. She has to stay away. Now, could you go on the inverse? Potentially. Potentially. Maybe the swan is Mary, and she's beautiful but dying on the inside, and James perceives himself to be a nuisance and is at a distance because the rot has gotten in the way. That very well could be the case too. Hard for me to know. That's the beauty of this whole space. But I think at the end of the day, no matter what, this represents James and Mary's dynamic, and that the rot got to them. And it hurt their ability to balance the relationship. And it ended up breaking apart. And the key is under... No, I'm not going to... Winged key. All right. It's really good stuff. To freedom. Winged key. Fly away, James. Oh, yeah. Half the bed is rotted. It's 2 beds now we've seen, at least that I've paid attention to, where half the bed's rotted and the other half is clean-ish. Wow. And we jump. Okay. This would be one of those moments, by the way, like what I talked about at the beginning of the YouTube video, where I don't want to see comments in my comments that are like, well, the developers intended the birds to mean this. Like, I don't need those comments. All right, we got another coin thing. Broken drawer. So many cages. Imprisonment. Imprisoned by the rot. I mean, that is just the most, you know, in-your-face symbolism you could have, but so much of this. Just screams that. I do wonder when the pyramid guy's going to show up again, because there's no way we're done with him. Alright, that door's locked. Knitted hand ain't gonna do it. So we're downstairs. We're deeper in. Apartment 109, what do you got for me? Very consistent setups in these. I appreciate that there's diversity in the furniture and assets in this game, by the way. It really helps with the, like... helps with the vibe and making it feel lived in. What's up, teddy bear? You got flowers. Dude getting a crown.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah. I'm James.
Angela.
Angela. Okay. Look, I'm not sure what you're planning, but there's always another way.
Really? What's the point? It's easier just to run. Maybe it's all we deserve.
We?
Me. You. We're all the same.
I'm not like you.
Are you afraid? Sorry.
It's okay. Did you find your mother?
No. Not yet.
Did she live here? In this building?
I don't know.
So all you know is that she lived in this town?
What did you say? How did you know that?
Well, I just figured because this is where you're looking for her. How else would I know?
Yeah. Sorry. Did you find the person that you were looking for?
Not yet. Her name's Mary. She's my wife.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I don't know why I think she's here. She
died 3 years ago.
She's dead?
Oh, don't worry, I'm not crazy. At least I don't think so.
I have to find my mama.
Should I go with you? This town really is dangerous. Now, I know what you meant back there in the cemetery.
No, it's okay. Besides, I'd just slow you down.
What about that?
Will you hold it for me?
Sure. No problem.
If I kept it, I'm not sure what I might do. No! I'm sorry! I've been bad! Please don't!
Key of resilience. Putting my thoughts together here because there's a lot there. There's a lot there, and there's not a lot there. So we can see ourselves in this mirror. So she's the, I mean, I guess she was technically the first person we came across, but we came across her outside of the town. So now seeing her inside the town, we've now seen her and Eddie. And I am now of two minds of the way that this works. I'm going to talk about the meta first, then we'll get into some of the individual dynamics that happen there. Either everybody he comes across in Silent Hill is a manifestation of his own mind and is a representation of either some kind of emotional experience or somebody he came across or some developmental dynamic or something, that they're all related to him in some way, if we take into the idea that all of Silent Hill is James's mind. Or Silent Hill is a collectively shared experience by people who are having somewhat similar struggles, and we are seeing these people work their stuff out simultaneously in the town. So it's like the town exists. James has certain things he's working out in it. Angela has certain things she's working out in it. Eddie has certain things he's working out, and we converge at certain points but see different things as we traverse the town because they're working through their own subjective experiences. We work through ours. I don't know which one is right, but I'm starting to not see it necessarily as just being that all of these are manifestations of James's mind. So the mirror, particularly in this space, and Angela looking into it, and now James looking into it, I think very obviously represents the need to reflect, to see oneself in the context of maybe whatever schema or narratives they built over the course of whatever thing they were struggling with. Now, Angela said a phrase, I think at least 3, maybe 4 times, that is pretty common for people to utter, and that's the phrase, "I'm sorry." sometimes aimed directly at James, sometimes spoken more generally. And the the phrase "I'm sorry" can be used to convey actual, like, I'm acknowledging that something has been wronged and that it's part of an apology. I'm sorry can also be a projection of burdensomeness. What I mean by that is, if you say I'm sorry, you are acknowledging that whomever you are saying I'm sorry to has been affected or burdened by either a thing you did or your presence itself. And if Silent Hill is a space where people have to work out grief or trauma or guilt or any of the other smorgasbord of psychological experiences a person can have, I wonder the extent to which a person like Angela is dealing with whatever burdensomeness or sense thereof that she assigned to her role in whatever she's dealing with her mom. And is associating that, like, existence as burden to even when James shows up. Now, we don't know what it means when she says, I don't know what I would do with this knife if I continued to hold on to it. We don't know if that means self-harm or if that means harming somebody else. Like, yes, there's blood on it. We don't know where that blood came from. We can only speculate. Kind of wish James would ask if she sees the same monsters. Like, I would wonder if the things that she sees are similar to, like, is she also seeing blobs with heels, or is she seeing something else? Regardless, one of the things that I think is interesting about both Eddie and Angela in particular is that Angela is obviously younger than James. And I would be curious to know how simplistic her psychological process is in comparison to James. I'm not saying that because she's dumb, but when you're young, you don't possess as much nuance in your ability to reflect on things. You are a bit more myopic in your storing of things. You see it more as black and white, etc. You get a little bit older, you run around the block a few times, you start to see a bit more nuance and stuff. Regardless, she's obviously working some stuff out, and when James said that his wife is dead and that he's looking for her, I'm guessing she probably worries now that maybe her mom is dead and that there's some consistency between the two of them. I don't know. We didn't get a chance to really interact with her. She's obviously skittish and struggling, and I'll be curious if we bump back into her. She's the first character that we bumped back into, so I don't know if that means that we're also going to run into Eddie again at some point. I would be very interested if that happens. I'm going to love that. But I don't have a ton of information. I actually think it would be reckless to go too far into speculation on her because very limited. Very, very, very limited experience of her. And yeah, when she says she's been bad, we have no idea what that means. Have no idea what that means. It could mean anything. It could mean that she's been bad in this immediate context. It could mean that she's been working some stuff out. Again, if she's going through a similar process of processing something that happened to her, or that she was involved in, and she's having to work it out in the way that James seems to be working it out, it could be any number of narratives that she's bumping up against. Her being bad, burdensome, and taking up too much space being one of them. But yeah, meeting her in this giant room, the big mirror, time for reflection. Who is that a picture of? Hands on the TV. Teddy bear. I hope we run into her again. I'm gonna reserve further because I think further speculation would be somewhat reckless here. I'm gonna reserve that until we come across her again, if we come across her again. Okay, last time we heard that noise, things changed from clean to dirty. Key of Resilience. That's such an interesting name for that. What does that mean? Cages. Cages everywhere. The cage is designed to keep people in or to keep people out. Cages are barriers. S over here. What did you just write down? S on door. Okay, so this is a door that we'll have to go through, I'm sure, after we put the second hand in, because I'm guessing it's not going to open. Yeah. I mean, look at this, like it's not barbed wire, I guess, but like the like chicken wire and stuff. Like, man, it's just so many things there. Like pain, keep in. Vers la flamme. God, the lighting is just incredible. Forever Together, 208. N6? 9V? Interesting. Forever Together, 209. Is it possible this could be a barrier to try to keep the other two out of his mind space while he sorts out his issues? Hard to say. I don't know. Maybe. The thing I like about this is we don't really get any clear answers on that kind of stuff. I mean, the cage thing has been pretty prominent, I think, even before we met Angela. But there's obviously, I mean, the vibe of imprisonment. But then the question is, you know, trapped by what? What are you keeping in? What are you keeping out? I find it interesting that a lot of the boundaries that we're coming across in that way are like permeable boundaries. Not permeable, but there's holes in them so you can see what's on the outside and the inside. You know, unlike a door where you don't know what's on the other side. Oh, there's the M door again. Okay. Oh, jeez. I don't recall seeing these before. Two. Henry fears Scott. He'll run from him and hide. He's fled to the west to the other side. Here comes Mildred with unknown intent. Scott lies face down, blind to her descent. It's such a good way to write that. It's like the minute hand chases the hour hand, and then the second hand. Alright, so we go back down to the S. And I'm guessing the M is the last one. I really wish I'd put puzzles on hard. Oh well. Gosh, the ambient noise in this is just so unsettling. Just the wind, like dead air, just blowing through these like gross spaces. Ugh. Really? Okay. Oh, the minute hand. I put the minute hand in, not the second hand. Damn it. Gotta go to the moth room. The minute hand. God damn it, James. Didn't go to school for clockeneering. Another bird cage. A lot of bird symbolism here. And another glory hole. Go for it, James. Oh, wait. Alright, so there's a moth in there. Ugh. Damn. That's a big ass moth. Skull. There's a skull on it. That's cool. All right. This represents James's love of wool and his fear that at any time his wool could be absolutely destroyed by moths' need to eat it. I mean, obviously. That's why he doesn't wear wool anymore. It's okay, James, you can wear it. Okay, so in that moth. So we have, all right, the top one equals moon plus dot, middle is skull plus dot, dot minus skull. That's dot. That's moon. That's skull. Dot. Moon. Dot. Moon. Okay, so there's 2 skulls. There's 3 dots. And there's 3 moons. One, two, three, perhaps? Oh. Interesting to me that the moon is full here, but there's only half of a guy here. Maybe there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots. Okay, 5 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moons. 5 dots, 8 moons, 2 skulls. So 8 minus 5 would be 3. 2 plus 5 would be 7. 5 minus 2 would be 3. There we go. Visiting rules. Man, this is... Ooh, we got butterflies over here. In stark contrast to the moths. And the glorious of all glory holes. Oh, man. Get after it, bud. You've stuck your hand in worse at this point. Just go in confidently, my guy. All the way in. There it is, the second hand. Now, I will be very curious to see what this room looks like when we walk into it. A lot of like, okay, so butterfly, atlas, it's like somebody. The lighting in this room is just so good. Oh my God. All right. Mildred with unknown intent. Scott lies face down, blind to her descent. All right. And then we put the clock at the same time that every other clock has been. It has to symbolize her time of death. Has to. I can't think of anything else that would even carry that much meaning for him. Hey, I don't remember you being up here. I still don't quite understand what's happening there when we get those moments. You guys ready to have some fun? The second door. Terrifying. Terrifying. There you are. Thought we might see him again. Oh, shit. Okay. Whoa, buddy. Yeah, we can't hurt this guy. No way we can hurt this guy. Alright. Hey, why don't you break some of this shit open for me? It's raining. Yeah, I'm just wasting ammo at this point. Oh, baby. You sound a lot like an ambulance. Oh, man. I just, obviously I have so much. I don't want to just sit here in silence, but, like, I really got to, like, take that in. I am continually amazed at how much there is while there's so little. like it really is just great. I'm gonna work backwards. If I keep with my general theorizing, not because I'm cost sunk into it, but because it still makes sense to me, I'm going to go with that sound being an ambulance. And the reason I'm going to go with that sound being an ambulance is all of the cage symbolism that we've had here, particularly as things have progressed into more and more grossness, sickness, rot, is if James was feeling trapped, the sicker his wife got. Trapped in the sense that a lot of his needs couldn't be met. He probably had to go to a lot of doctor's appointments. He probably had to listen to what a bunch of people had to say about what was going on. I'm sure there were probably a lot of people telling him how he should feel. Denying his own emotional experience because hers was more important. All the ways in which a person who's dealing with somebody going through something like that, like just the scramble, the dissonance. We've been talking about it through the whole playthrough. It's an impossible situation. And it's so hard to talk about this stuff while it's happening and even after. This isn't really... This is not about James necessarily being selfish. I think this is probably about James suppressing all of his experience while he was dealing with what was going on with his wife and now having to really process through it. Or some of these things were quite available to him while he was going through this with his wife, the resentment, etc. And he is passing an immense amount of judgment on himself for it. How could I be so selfish? Putting me feeling resentment for my wife as she rotted away, me feeling trapped and attending to that, took away from me being present with her at the end. In some ways, I'm more present with her now while I'm working through my shit than I was because I was so wrapped up in the things I needed and wasn't getting. And I know that there are people that are going to resonate with what I'm going to say here about the ambulance. If for 3 years he was attending to his wife's needs and things were really rough and he was missing out on life, even if voluntarily and fully willingly engaging in her care, that ambulance call would be a relief. That's your ticket out of the cage. Now she goes to either the hospital or assisted living. Now we're in crisis mode. Maybe she's incredibly close to death. And we're finally getting out. And we're finally at the end of this thing. I love my wife. I care for her deeply. But this has destroyed us and me. And this is where, when people don't process their grief and their emotions while they're going through things, you will get very scrambled about the sense of relief that you feel when stuff like this is over, as if that somehow makes you a terrible person, that you're so glad you don't have to deal with your wife's terminal illness anymore, that doctors are either finally taking care of it or maybe that this person is finally passing. That does not make you a terrible person. You're doing everything you can in an impossible situation that you didn't ask for. Anytime anybody is under duress, when you get reprieve from it, there's relief. We are the ones that then cast judgment on ourselves or others when they articulate that experience, and a lot of people get afraid to articulate that experience. I love my wife. I wish she never got sick, but honestly, I would rather my wife be dead than sick. Because at least when she's dead, I can go about my life. I can live. I can do things again. When she was alive, not only did I lose my life, she wasn't even herself. It wasn't even my wife anymore by the end. She was so rotted out from the inside that, like, I was attending and caring for somebody that I didn't even like anymore. I didn't even feel connected with anymore. Because she wasn't her. So I'm trapped. This is my wife. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I signed up for. As a person who decided to marry this person and hitch my wagon to you for life. But think about that. If that's your experience, are you talking about that? Do you have people in your life who could actually sustain a conversation like that? I don't know many people who do. That's where a therapist can be immensely helpful, because we can handle those types of conversations and will handle those conversations and we'll treat it with care. These are taboo topics, man. This guy's fighting some demons. The amount of judgment you'd place on what your authentic experience was. When I look in the mirror, can I live with the way that I acted while I was going through this? Do I have regrets? Do I have... This guy is simultaneously swimming in regret and relief. But if that pyramid guy represents the personal hell and entrapment that he is experiencing, that he carried with him wherever he went, these cages are very stationary. That pyramid helmet is one that goes with him. It's painful. He carries it with him everywhere. It blinds him. It's all consuming. It's painful. But that would be the guilt, the dissonance, the selfishness that he carries, the bad decisions. And we watched it bolt. And we fought it a little bit, tried to crack it. It hears the ambulance and it goes, I gotta go. I'm out. Relief. And then what? You know, after James's wife dies, maybe you had all these needs. I mean, there's a lot of sexual undertones here, and overtones. You know, it's like, to use that as an example. Okay, so your wife dies. For the last 3 years, you have been sexually unsatisfied. Totally understandably so. Do you go seek out a sexual partner? Do you find a sex worker? Do you find a surface level relationship or a deep relationship because that's a need that it's been unsatiated for years? And then what's your experience when you do that? Do you enjoy it? Or does it remind you of what you didn't have with your wife? Is it actually a relief? For some it might be. And then if it is a relief and you do enjoy it and you're glad it's back in your life again, now do you wrestle with a sense of judgment for yourself because, wow, how terrible that this is something that still matters to me when my wife just died. What does this say about my relationship? I mean, seriously, this is just profoundly, profoundly complicated stuff. This is the real meat of therapy when people are processing complicated grief like this. You know, as far as the rain or the sprinkler system is concerned, I don't know. Maybe she died on a rainy night. So there's an association there that her death happened at a time when it was raining outside, and that's an association he made with her death. Every time it rains, it reminds him of that. It could be that things hit critical mass and were on fire, whether their relationship was on fire or her life was on fire, and the sprinkler system was a way to try to quell that. It's sort of like a last-minute crisis intervention. Now, I mean, the other thing is, I mean, we do see some bathtub. Like we saw the thing in the bathtub, and there's a lot of water references. I don't know if, like, there was some, you know, maybe she had a moment where she was in the bath and that was what kicked some of this off. You know, and this feels like, oh, this is a big stretch. It is obviously no accident that the pyramid guy showed up here. And if the pyramid guy represents the most complex and deep of like guilt, shame, and horror, and he's carrying a blade, he's got a weapon. He shows up at a time where we are surrounded by the most cages, the most entrapment. We're the farthest away from the sun. We're in the darkest moment. Did James potentially assist in his wife's demise at the very end? Did he assist in putting her and himself out of their misery, which would be a parallel process but not a shared one? And if he did do that, as potentially merciful as it may have been, both to her and to himself, you want to talk about a really heavy thing to carry? That starts to make sense in terms of how big and heavy that helmet is. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of going way out into left field. Like that's going real deep on this. But sometimes things get so miserable, death seems like the greatest release you could have. Who knows? Maybe it was a joint decision. Maybe he had a weak moment. I don't want to speak this into like truth because I don't know. This is pure hypothesis. Like, no idea what happened. I think that's the beauty of this, is we have no idea what actually happened. We haven't had that represented to us. But it just makes sense to me. And I guess if you like really go into it, it's like if the pyramid guy leaves with the ambulance, was the ambulance called and the guilt already there when the ambulance was called? Like, did he follow the ambulance to the hospital knowing that he contributed to the reason? Is he simultaneously free and now more entrapped by the fact that he engaged in something that maybe he never fathomed he would? Take control. You know, which gets into a very complicated conversation about suicide, which I certainly encourage people to watch my video about that on YouTube. I have one where I talk about it for about 40 minutes. I don't talk so much about assisted suicide, but in terms of like, you know, do you have the right to go out on your own terms? Is it merciful? We do it to animals. You know, you take an animal to be euthanized, nobody bats an eye. People say, actually, that's very merciful. Very nice of you not to let your cat suffer for another year because you selfishly wanted to keep them around. We don't really treat humans that way. So those are all, that's the mishmash of my mind right now, is that this progression very much seems to have gone into the rotting stages. I realize it's a harsh term, but like if his perception of this was that his wife was rotting away and he was trapped, where do you exercise some sense of control, and then what's your judgment of it afterwards? And it seems to me that that pyramid manifestation of himself is something that he still sees as relatively impenetrable. Now, I please ask you, for the love of all things video gaming and holy and whatever you may pray to or believe in, please do not jump into my YouTube comments and tell me how right or wrong I am. The TLDR on this entire conversation that we just had is that if you're a person that's going through this type of situation where loved ones are struggling or your sense of autonomy in your life is stripped by unfair circumstances, the complicated smorgasbord of emotion that you experience is valid. You are not a bad person because you have needs that you wish would be met at a time where other things take priority. You are not an asshole if you indulge the thought 4 years after having your first child of, man, I don't know if having a kid was a good idea for me. Man, my wife was at the hospital hooked up to chemo, and I rushed home to turn porn onto my screen and masturbate because I've been dying to do that and couldn't do it while she was around. I'm an asshole. No, you're not. What James is dealing with right here is very real. People go through this and almost never feel comfortable enough to talk about it. So I hope that you find either people in your life or a therapist, somebody where you can confide in about this stuff and talk about it, because it's a real part of your experience. It's never about how you should feel. It's about how you do feel. Now, this big steel vault door that seems like it would never opened. I just have to believe that that's like the gate to her death. God, did you just walk back outside? Oh, holy hell, man. This is an incredible experience. I get why people love this game so much. Yeah, think of how oppressive this felt, and now this is like the greatest breath of fresh air ever. Like, the relativity of this is so great. You're like walking in here and you're like, God damn, this sucks ass being in this misty town that's dilapidated. And then you go into that apartment building, you come out here and you're like, this might as well be a beautiful 74-degree sunny day. Like, I am all for this. Oh, like, whoo, I can breathe. Now, I do wonder if there's some degree of symbolism here in that, where James just processed that part of his wife's demise, and hitting the pyramid guy over the head a few times and hearing the ambulance and walking out and understanding and validating his experience is a breath of fresh air. There is a renewal to it. Still foggy, but man, we got some open air now. We can breathe a little bit. Which, coincidentally, is often what people report when they talk to, me or their therapist about very intense, hard to talk about things. It can feel so unbelievably validating and calming, and just to say the difficult thing, to talk about the experience that you've been casting a lot of self-judgment on for a very long time. Really, really cannot emphasize that enough. Another thing I can't emphasize enough is how grateful I am that you're here. Thank you so much for watching this playthrough, for engaging with it, for caring at all about what I have to say. It means a lot to me that you are engaging with my content in the way that you are. And this is a game that a lot of people have played and is beloved by a lot. And so you giving me a chance to take a crack at it and analyze it and hopefully maybe breathe some life into something that hopefully you've never had to experience, but may experience someday, and give you a new way to orient yourself to it. Man. Yeah, just looking at chat, seeing how many of you relate to what I'm talking about. I'm sure, we have people galore on YouTube watching this playthrough that I'm sure connect with it as well. That says something, friends. If you're a person who's going to put your fingers on your keyboard and type something along the lines of, my God, this really resonates with my experience,
I had an experience where I was afraid to talk about X, or I went through Y or Z. There are so many people that have that experience, and nobody talks about it because we're all so up our own anxieties asses about worrying about what people are going to think about us. It's such a shared experience, man. The worry that if you attend to your needs while somebody else is struggling, you're selfish. No. We all are human. We all have needs, and shit happens over the course of our experience that isn't fair, doesn't align with what we would have drawn up for ourselves, and we got to navigate it as much as we can with compassion. You do the best that you can.
Hey. It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
Maybe I did.
What's a little girl like you doing here anyway?
I don't know. What's a big dum-dum like you doing here anyway?
Hey, that's not very nice. Didn't your parents teach you any manners?
My parents are dead, James.
What you got there?
None of your business. You didn't love Mary anyway.
What? Hey, wait! How do you know her name?
Tell me about it, Jack. Good God. Oh, okay. So now I lean back in the direction of these things are internal manifestations of James? I don't have a lot for that. Really snarky girl calls him a big dum-dum. Says you never loved Mary anyway and runs away. Okay, here's the only thing I can think of. The only thing I can think, this is all I got. Would be that if you're okay, if you're going through something for the first time, and my guess would be that James had never been in a situation before where his wife was dying to terminal illness, it means that you would be developmentally delayed in your understanding of how to handle that, understandably so. Like, it's not like not like anybody throws a book at you and says, okay, hey, read this because in 10 years your wife's going to get cancer and you need to know everything there is to know about it. People really aren't proactively reading those things. Leukemia for Dummies. Oh, that sounds like a really fun thing to check out. Let me read that for fun on the off chance that that happens to a loved one. No. People don't generally learn about these things until they go through them or until they see them represented in a way that's maybe a bit more entertaining, i.e. video games. So I do wonder if that is a manifestation of the like lack of development that James would have around the way in which he's processing this. I know back when we talked to Angela, I said, well, James has a more sophisticated way of being able to process this, and Angela's younger, so she may be a bit more simple in it. But that, and that still applies, but like the way that James would be talking himself through this would be, I think, childlike in some ways, where maybe this snarky girl represents this part of him that isn't very well developed, so is maybe like a 6, 7, 8-year-old child who has to have a simple explanation to cut through the incredibly complicated, nuanced thing that he experienced. Where, let's say, if James experienced relief in his wife's death, or if James participated in his wife's death, a lack of developed way of looking at that and assimilating it into your mind would be, maybe I never loved her anyway. Maybe the reason that I experienced all the dissonance I experienced, or why I was so selfish throughout the process and attending to my own needs, is because I didn't actually love her. Not because I had no idea what I was doing and was incompetent and didn't have the right structure around me to help me process it. Maybe we go Occam's razor on this from a childlike perspective, and it's I never loved her. Maybe that's why I was so selfish and willing to do the things that I did. That's to me, perfectly plausible explanation that a person would come to in the just sheer mountain of complexity that they're having to deal with in the aftermath of this type of thing. It's where people focus on like dumb, simple stuff sometimes when they're in the after. They're like, oh, God, if only I'd remembered to turn the clocks back on daylight savings, and my husband would have woke up on time and wouldn't have got fired from his job, and our marriage wouldn't have ended. Maybe it's my executive functioning. Maybe it's daylight savings time that's the problem. Like, people do shit like this instead of like acknowledging the gray areas that exist within all of this. So maybe, just maybe, that child holding a letter is the childlike part of him that is trying to oversimplify what is an incredibly complicated process, and is snarky in doing so because it's a part that runs somewhat counter to his sense of self, or is trying to manage something. And if you're somewhat fascinated by this conversation I'm having about parts, I highly recommend that you watch my video here on the YouTube channel about internal family systems. Because if you watch that video and then you come back to this moment and listen to my analysis, you may find that it makes a hell of a lot more sense from where I'm coming. I can't go into a deep dive on that right now, or else I'm going to sit here for another hour and a half and derail this entire thing. So go watch that video, and if you're interested, and see how it applies here, because that would be a way intrapsychically I would look at it. Now, could be totally something else, no idea, but that was a very interesting exchange. I was not expecting that. Sitting high up on the wall. But what if she is like Angela and Eddie? Then I guess we'll find out. I don't know. I mean, I still don't fully understand what those people are. I don't know if it's a shared experience or if these are manifestations of James's mind. The child's gender identity, in my opinion, has absolutely no bearing on any of this. I don't think, to me, whether that child is a girl or a boy or a non-binary child, doesn't matter. That is the least important part of the entire thing. If it's like an intrapsychic, like if it's a representation of James's mind. What is this? You know, or, you know, that girl was pretty strong-minded. Maybe James has an association with gender of I'm a man, boy, and I was weak and affected and blah, blah, blah. And the woman in my life are a hell of a lot stronger and seem to be less affected by it in the way that I was. And so I mean, you could download some gender representation in there, I guess. But I just don't know. That's me really going into the weeds on this. And like, I just don't know that the gender of that child matters. And maybe it does. Maybe we'll find out later on. But in my mind right now, I don't really consider that to be important part of the analytical process. Yeah, whether her being blonde matters, I don't know. Those are all things that, like, again, I could speculate about every single tiny little detail in this game until the cows come home. So trying to keep it as cohesive as I can from like a psychological point of view. I certainly appreciate all the symbolism that is dropped into this space, though. It's really great stuff. The fact that this game came out. What year did this come out originally? Like late 90s? Early 2000s? 2001? Yeah, goddamn. Coffee and tacos. Thanks so much for the sub. All right, what do we got here? Pete's Bolorama. Family weekends. Food, drink, great time. I'm going to work on your marketing, Pete's. Pete's Bolorama is a great place for everyone to spend... Have an amazing time. We have all kinds of food in our cafeteria, like pizza, burgers, and french fries with drinks. Local bowling clubs looking new members all the time. Okay, Bar Neely's, girls' night every weekend. Happy hour at Neely's Bar every Friday, and that means half-price beer. Neely's have wide range of top beers you have to check. Silent Hills Historical Society, Earth Day at Toluca Lake. The story of yesterday, Nathan Ave. Hi, I love you. Boat trips. Experience guide, local knowledge, great experience. Stop stepping on my mice, cat. Come here. Are you jealous now because your brother's on my lap? Come on. Yeah? Is that a yes? Putting this in here. You guys can't be walking on this. Jack's in. Beauty rest. Radio. TV. Hi-fi? Wi-Fi? It's never too late for quiet cocktails. 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. Tea's Italian restaurant. Luxury and vintage. Welcome to Silent Hill, a quiet little lakeside resort town. We're happy to have you. There's no better place than here to let go of your busy schedules and finally enjoy a relaxing vacation. Rows of quaint, rustic houses mark a gorgeous mountain landscape. And as the dawn turns to dusk, the surface of Toluca Lake shines a whole range of dreamlike colors. Silent Hill will move you and fill your heart with peace. Will it? We're more than certain your time here will be pleasant and leave you with memories that will stay with you forever. Editor Roger Widmark. Next to a straw hat. James, brother, I think we need a shower and a change of clothes. I don't know about you. I kind of wish his right arm was still all gross from when he reached into the toilet, but... oh well.
This is it.
Headless. Wow, the horse and the person. Patrick Chester, son of Edward, he fought and died for the people, for liberty, and for all of our tomorrows. His memory lives on. No horse head, no human head. A lot of things with no heads. Rosewater Park. Dude, look, the wet wood, that is the best wet wood in a video game I've ever seen. It's remarkable how beautiful this is. Look at that, more headless statues. It's like the Wish You Were Here album cover. Set that guy on fire and we're there. Some old newspapers, some lily pads in the water. Oh man, warning, no swimming or diving permitted in this area. Oh, ice cream. Where are we? Oh, okay. In memory of 67, who died of illness and now sleep beneath the lake. Freshly ground coffee to go. You see these coffee prices. Latte $1.59. See, that's what I'm talking about. Bring these prices back. Hot tea for $1, 50 cents for a bottle of water. Let's go. Toluca Lake Canoe Trail. Oh, baby. Part 5 is going to be great. Friends, thanks so much for taking the time. I am grateful for your presence, grateful for your engagement. Please keep the comments spoiler free. I'm enjoying this so much. So much. And I hope you are too. Man. Please do leave a thumbs up on the video if you like it. And leave a comment. Feel so inclined. Check out the links in the description, all that fun stuff. If you're binging, I'll see you right here on the dock in the next episode. If you're waiting for the next one to come out, and get it out as soon as we can. It was a wild ride, friends. A wild ride. So, thanks for riding along with me. You're awesome. You matter. I will see you in the next episode.